Good evening, everybody. Testing. There we go. Couldn't hear myself for a second there. It would help if I turned the headphones up, I guess. Welcome, everybody, to the Clash of Champions post-game show and more here. WWE Clash of Champions 2017 just wrapped up, and we're going to have all the rundown of all the matches here, plus all the news that is news breaking from this pay-per-view. AJ Styles successfully defending his WWE Championship against Jinder Mahal. Some Who Shot John mess going on during the Nakamura-Orton versus Owens and Zayn match, with the Shane and Daniel Bryan being the referees. We are here on Twitter and Twitch. We'd like to thank you very much for joining us wherever it is that you're watching. And feel free to participate in our chat rooms. I will be reading chats out, whether they be super chats. We don't have super chat yet. Whether it be, whether it be Twitch chats or YouTube chats, we will get to each and every one of you guys' questions if you have any in the chat room, as well as comments, whatever the case may be. Man, what a crazy night, man. A pretty solid pay-per-view, I gotta say, except for that last match. That last match was a dud. And it's not AJ Styles' fault. It's not AJ Styles' fault. Let me pull up the results here for this pay-per-view. And we may have a guest or two coming on this evening. So be on the lookout for that. There was a Nova Pro sign in the crowd tonight. I could not believe that. Nova Pro having a sign. I believe it was Coach Gator, at Nick Gator on Twitter, had the sign in there, and it got immediately taken away after the first couple of showings on camera. Let me see here. Sorry, I'm communicating with my oh man. Communicating with my would-be guest on here. It's AC. AC wants to come on, so we will if AC wants to come on as well, we'll come in. We have a little bit of Wrestle Kingdom discussion that I want to get into tonight as well, so feel free to leave a comment on that below. We're going to be using a video that I found on YouTube, and I got permission from the guy to use it. Before everybody starts going, you're using somebody else's videos, I got permission from Showbuckle to use the video. So before all you go running to Showbuckle saying, Joe White used your video, Joe White used your video, he knows. He knows. So we'll be playing that for you later on in the show. But yeah, Clash of Champions 2017, man. What a crazy ass show it was. It was good, full of finishes. It was full of good action. Good finishes tonight. Good finishes, which is not something that we could say for WWE often. Let me see here. I'm trying to find out pull up the results still. Sorry, I got 15 things going on at once right at the start of the show. All right. So yeah, I was not surprised when the Nova Pro thing got taken down, because they don't want that there. They don't want you to know unless they tell you. They don't want you to know that all these other things exist. Tom Zink passed away today too. R.I.P. to Tom Zink, the Z-Man himself, man. Sad news indeed. Preliminary matches, let me take a look here. The only match on the pre-show, I believe, was Mojo Rawley defeating Zack Ryder in about 6 minutes, 55 seconds. And to, AC, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. What's going on?
What's going on, man? Long time no see, man.
How's everything?
Going good, man. How are you? We are live, by the way.
Good. Awesome.
So you actually managed to stay awake for this pay-per-view, huh?
I did. I gotta be honest. I stayed awake. I watched. I I mean, I want to go say I was into it, but I watched it. I thought it started out well, and then I don't know where you're at, so I don't want to say too much.
I'm starting off with the pre-show match. I didn't watch the pre-show match because I could care less about Raleigh. I could care less about Ryder, so I didn't watch it.
I actually I had the pre-show on, and I was kind of going back and forth with people on social media about the big Patriots Steelers game.
Oh, jeez.
Which is a story for another day.
Sorry,
but anyway,
there's no football I want to watch unless Vince McMahon's bringing it back. We'll get into that though, because that's one of the topics I wanted to address tonight. So it's good that you're on. We can get your opinion on it as well, since you're a big football fan.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'll talk about. I'll definitely. I got some opinions about it. The pre-show match was on, man, and I got to tell you, it had nothing. There was no crowd noise. I actually spoke to Diamond Dave Rosenbluth, who was in the crowd tonight. And he said it was one of those take it or leave it things. Half the people are on their phones. Nobody really cared. He said he thought that Mojo got some booze just because nobody likes Mojo. So,
well, nobody likes him, and yet he's Triple H. He's one of Triple H's prodigies. I remember the big thing about him when he got brung in was that he was a Triple H guy. That Triple H really liked him. And the only reason why Triple H likes him is because he's good friends with Gronk, and he thinks
Gronkowski. Yeah. He gets that WrestleMania cameo with Gronk.
Yeah. Did you notice? I don't know if they had it during the pre-show, but I definitely noticed it during the main portion of the show. I called them the Johnny 5 cameras. They had one mounted on the turnbuckle. They had one on the entranceway. They had one behind the announcers, and one on the hard camera side of the ring, pointed into the ring. I've never seen these cameras before. Did you notice those at all?
I actually was thinking that watching it. Again, the only person I was really texting during the show was Dave. He was kind of giving me the live reaction, and I had on TV. It seems like they like to play around with the production of SmackDown. You know what I mean? Like I've got that feeling for a while now.
But I've never seen these cameras before. One of them, when they panned over at one point and looked at it, I'm like, did somebody spill a drink? Did they put a wet floor sign on the ground? Then I was like, no, there's a camera point, attached to this thing. And then I noticed the first one I noticed was on the turnbuckle or on the ring post there. And I'm sitting there going, are these 3D cameras? Are they playing around with 3D? What is the deal with these things? I don't know what they are. I even messaged Mike Johnson, because Mike Johnson comes from, he's worked in Hollywood and production and all, and talent agencies. So I figure he may know what they are, and I never got a reply from him. Go figure. But there have been rumblings for about 2 years now that WWE is trying to get into 3D, but I don't know what they were. To me, they were an eyesore the entire night. The talent had to feel crippled by it because they couldn't go nowhere near it on that side of the ring. Yeah. But
sometimes it's too much with this stuff. And the thing is, and I'm not sure how, we're going to talk about XFL later, but I'm not sure how many people know this. There's a camera that ABC and ESPN actually bought from Vince or WWE, whatever.
That zipline
from
camera.
The XFL, the camera that kind of goes right down the middle of the field. On a I don't know if you call it a zip line or whatever.
It's a zip line camera. A lot of people don't realize the XFL innovated that.
That was purchased by ESPN. I believe ESPN. I don't know that any other network maybe other networks use it now. I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Fox uses it.
But that Vince and the XFL created that. He probably, honestly, he probably sold that for enough money. He probably didn't even take a loss with the XFL the first time. You know what I mean?
We'll get into the XFL in a minute. Let's talk about the pay-per-view. Kicked it off with Dolph Ziggler defeating Baron Corbin and Bobby Roode in a triple threat match here. I honestly believe that Bobby Roode looks more jacked than ever here, because the dude's flat out fucking cut, And Baron Corbin, this is probably the best Baron Corbin's looked. Dolph Ziggler winning the belt. Everybody on social media, nobody saw this coming. I thought the finish was the best thing about this match. It worked perfectly. And I'm part of me's happy to see Dolph Ziggler doing this, but then again, his contract is coming up. They did this the last time his contract is coming up. Oh, we'll push you for a little while to get you to stay for 3 more years, and then the second you sign on that dotted line, back in the garbage you go. So what were your thoughts on this one?
Going in, just looking at the card, I thought this had an opportunity to kind of steal the show. I thought match placement wise, opening the show, no problem there. That's the kind of match you kind of want opening the show. Dude, I agree with you. I think it's the same old song and dance with Ziggler. You got Jericho working in big New Japan show in January, the biggest New Japan show of the year, as in every year. Um, I don't think they want these guys leaving and heading over to work with New Japan and putting New Japan in a situation where they're doing shows in the U.S. now and everything else, and they become that legit number 2. So, yeah, I mean, listen, if putting a strap on Ziggler makes him a little bit happier and makes him, want to have that, that guaranteed salary and everything else, it wouldn't shock me if you're 100% right about that. Honestly, I kind of thought the same thing when he won. I did like the match. I mean, I don't know what it did for Corbin. Rude didn't need it yet. He's got. I know. I mean, I know he's not a baby, but he's got some time here. I think you got a little bit of that shock value with Ziggler winning. Plus, let's face it. As we go on here, not a lot of titles change hands, so you're gonna have a clash of champions when every title's on the line. At some, one of the titles at least got to change hands, and they found a way to at least make that happen.
I thought the finish of it was good. Ziggler in the back of his mind has to be going at this stage because he's done some audio interviews talking about this, and there's even been a couple times on I know you don't watch it, but CWF Mid-Atlantic TV, him and one of the guys, one of the more prominent workers there, he's now regated to part-time status, but Brad Attitude. He's a former developmental guy. He was in developmental when Dolph Ziggler was still in developmental. And him two are real good friends. And there's been a couple of vignettes that they've been doing on CWF Mid-Atlantic where Brad Attitude is sitting next to Dolph Ziggler. Literally, the camera pans over and Ziggler's on camera for about 5 seconds, and then they quickly pan away. But part of me wants Ziggler to leave. Part of me wants him to go to the Indies. I want to see him in I doubt he shows up at CWF Mid-Atlantic, but it'd be cool to see him there. It'd be cool to see him go to Japan. It'd be cool to see him go to places like where you're from, Northeast Wrestling, Ring of Honor, PWG. He needs to go those places. He needs to, he's got to be thinking in the back of his mind, folks, that, okay, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, not so fast, because he knows the deal. And unless they're going to throw a shit ton of money at him to sit there and go, okay, sign for 3 more years, I have to believe that this is not going to phase his decision at all.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. Like, what do you want in your career? Do you want to go do what Cody Rhodes has done for the last 18 months? Kind of the table that Matt Hardy set for everybody.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that, or do you want to have that guaranteed salary and travel for 300 days and work all these shows? And yeah, you know what? You're going to be a stepping stone. You're not going to get that big push.
Part of me thinks that
having that title on his waist is nice, right? But I mean,
it doesn't matter.
Is it a major push? No. I don't know that. I don't know that anybody cares about that title on SmackDown right now. I think that in prominence, it's like the 4th title. I mean, you could make the case, obviously, the WWE title being on AJ, the tag titles, which I think the SmackDown tag titles are better than the Raw tag titles right now. The women's title, and then the U.S. title is like an afterthought on SmackDown anyway. If that is enough to sway his decision, then to me, he wants the guaranteed money, the stable career, and to keep status quo, keeps doing what he's doing. Yeah, you know what? He could go make money on the indies. He could definitely make money with New Japan Ring of Honor, but he's going to have to work for it in a different way. I think there's a lot of hardcore fans. You just said it yourself. You'd love to see him. I'd love to see him out there. I think there's opportunities out there. But really, does he want that? You know what? He said he doesn't like how he's being used, but when push comes to shove and that contract's in front of him, he keeps signing it. So it wouldn't shock me if he just does status quo and does it again.
By the way, folks, we are here live. We want to hear what you're thinking in the chat rooms here on Twitch and on YouTube. Go ahead and file into the chat rooms, and we'll read all your chats and your comments and everything, respond to them. We are here on Twitch and on YouTube. So we get this match, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, they gave him the belt because they want him to hang around, and who knows, he's probably going to. But then the next match was freaking crazy. The Usos defeating the New Day, Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable, and Rusev and Aiden English. A lot of people on Twitter tonight talking about, oh, look at the loud pop for Rusev. Here's the thing. I went to Starrcade a month ago, the Saturday after Thanksgiving in Greensboro, North Carolina, okay? It's fucking Greensboro. And Rusev was probably the second most over person on the show, or the third most over person on the show, right behind Ric Flair and AJ Styles. He's been. I
was going to say Flair country, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, Flair came out, did his little crying speech and left, and Charlotte was over too, but AJ was over like Rover in that building, and you know, and then Rusev, I think, had the top three. It was in the top 3 of the night, or top 4 of the night at least. He's been getting over and more over on the house shows. To the point where I think he'd be just as over if he didn't have Aiden English and the whole Rusev Day thing.
Gotcha.
But it helps. And kudos to Aiden English for finding something to do after, you know, he was floundering. But this match was just freaking crazy. The finish was good. Chad Gable with those victory roll into Germans was freaking amazing.
I thought he injured a couple guys.
So
I know. I mean, they looked. I mean, if you want to talk about giving the appearance of looking real, I mean, that looked as real as it gets. You know what I mean? That was good stuff.
And what kills me is the agents are probably sitting there watching this match, going, "Guys, easy on the neck bumps," you know?
Right.
But what else are you supposed to? How else are you supposed to take that after you've been victory rolled and bam, you know, he's deadlifting you after that, you know?
Right.
The Usos are just over like crazy. I'm loving the Usos. I'm glad they retained here. The New Day is stale as fuck. Probably more stale than those pancakes they're handing out. And I'm sorry, I like the reaction of this kid. And they've done it a couple times now. I guess they're going to start selling pancake mix next in FYE. But this kid thinks he's going to get cereal poured in his mouth. Nope, he gets a fucking box full of flapjacks to land on him, poor kid. But like they're trying to find new ways to invent themselves, and it's over with the kids. The problem is, though, the parents who like me, who are fans. I'll be honest, my son, when we went to that Starrcade a few weeks back, he hated the New Day. He hated the New Day. He's like, he cost them the match at Survivor Series. He hates the New Day now. He doesn't like them. I tried to buy him a box of Bootios at the event. He didn't want it. So maybe the New Day is even less over with the kids now. But maybe. They're stale as hell. Benjamin and Gable, they're never going to be anything more than what they are. Rusev and English probably won't going to be anything more than what they are. They're never. If they put them on if they put the belts on them, it'll likely be a 1 or 2 week reign, maybe a month. It's a joke reign.
I was actually concerned they were going to
put it on them.
To do, yeah, kind of like that too quick thing. You know what I mean? Like, you know, sometimes they do that.
But here's what kills me. If you're using the Dave Meltzer Young Bucks scale, the crowd likes it, so it's good for business. It works. No, it doesn't. I'm sorry. Just because the crowd pops for it and is all giddy and splooging in their pants for it doesn't mean that it's good booking-wise.
Well, the other thing, too, is as soon as you put the titles on them, the crowd is just the crowds you have now are just likely to turn on it as they are to enjoy the fact that but to me, there's really, and I get this is, you know, came out of nowhere, a little bit of an organic build. That's cool. But like, there's no build to them becoming tag team champions. You know what I mean? Like, and I know they you know, good builds are few and far between in WWE these days. But to me, love them or hate them, the Usos are the best tag team in the WWE, hands down. And I've enjoyed the old Usos. I love this version even better. And I think it was smart to keep it on them again. Again, if you're gonna take it off them, you need to have like one of those big time builds where there's really you know, a benefit to taking them off them, and a benefit to somebody for taking the tag team titles off them. Not just that, oh, we're in Boston and we know we're going to pop for Rusev and, Rusev and Aiden English winning. And they would have popped. If they won, they would have popped. But that would have been it. You would have got that pop, and then there's nowhere to go. So I like the fact that they kept them on the Usos. And I agree. The match was crazy. It was good. Gable had his nice moment there. I agree with you about those two. Him and Shelton Benjamin. It's a nice little tag team. I don't know if I buy it as a major player tag team. I would have much rather seen the original American Alpha just stay together and see if they can build on that. But we're not at that point right now.
Libby, this is something crazy here. Libby Weissman, journalist and writer from Charlotte, North Carolina, has announced that Jerry Richardson is putting the team up for sale at the conclusion of this season.
I saw that. Yeah.
After they had that monster year, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago? Hey, Vince, if you want to get into football.
Well, the thing is, Joe, with the state of the business side of the NFL right now,
they're not making any money.
It wouldn't shock me to see guys maybe try to cash out now before, another 2-3 years of what they had this year. And then, values of teams go down and this, that, and the other.
We'll talk about that when we get into the XFL.
He's probably feeling like he's selling high right now, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that when we get in the XFL here because I do want to talk about that with you tonight. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm trying to get through this card really quick because you're the football guy that I know. You and Jeff keep up with it. I could care less about the NFL. So, but the XFL, I did like the XFL when it was on back in the day.
Hey, I did a major rant when the whole Eli Manning situation happened.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
I went ballistic, man. But that's whatever. But I went ballistic.
Well, they fired their coach 2 weeks later, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And the GM.
So the Charlotte Flair defeating Natalya by submission. Lumberjack match for the women's championship. Flair was the only one to get attacked by the Lumberjacks, I think. I don't think Natalya ever left the ring, did she?
I didn't see it. I got it. I mean, I just kind of felt like this is like same old song and dance. Like, how many times are we going to see this match? Flair versus Hart, Flair versus Natalya. I don't know. It didn't do a lot for me going in.
And I'm sick of the Lumberjacks. I'm sick of the Lumberjacks attacking people on the outside of the ring. People need to realize that started, it was some random Lumberjack match on Raw in the late 90s where all of a sudden everybody started attacking everybody who went outside. And therefore, after that has to happen in every Lumberjack match.
There's been a lot of Lumberjack matches recently from what I've seen.
We need to get back to Lumberjacks are there to throw them in the ring. They're not there to kick them. They're not there to stomp them. They're not there to punch them. They're not there to flip on them. They're there to throw you back in the ring, unless it's a country whipping match where the Lumberjacks have leather straps and are allowed to do that.
Right.
Have we?
I could see it getting to that point later on in the match, but I mean, it's almost a foregone conclusion when someone heads to the floor now that they're going to get a beating, and it's kind of like, okay, there's no like shock value in that. There's no like, oh my God, they're going to do it. Like, it's coming. There's a lot of predictability involved with that.
Charlotte ends up defeating her by submission with the figure 8. Natalya gets on the mic. Promo Bot 5000 gets in the ring. She quickly, Natalya is wanting to grab the mic away from her, and it took about a good maybe 2 or 3 tries before Natalya finally just ripped the mic out of her hands. And then Promo Bot 5000 is just standing there looking dumbfounded. But she gets on the ring, she cries, she says, oh, y'all turn your back on me, I'm going to turn my back on you, and I've been giving you the best matches for well over 10 years or whatever the case may be. And I'm just like, what matches have you watched of yours, Natty? You were better on the indie scene. I can remember, here's what kills me about Natalya. I can remember in the early 2000s, before she debuted, all you couldn't read on the internet, you could not read about an indie show without having a Natty Neidhart match stealing it. She crushed it on the indie scene. And now, here it is, she's made it to the WWE, and it's like, I can't tell you a good Natalya match that really sticks out in my mind. I'm sure she's had a couple, but she's not memorable,
And I gotta say the heel the heel gimmick. It's very forced. It's very overdone. It's very not believable.
The crazy cat lady thing going from Total Divas.
Yeah, I'm just not feeling it, man. Not at all. I'm not feeling it at all. I felt like that promo was very like out of nowhere and very like, you know, I don't know if they were looking for a shock value or something, but I felt like the crowd was like very matter of fact and very about like whatever. Okay, Natty, you want to cry? You want to go away? Okay, you're not. You know what I mean?
You won't be missed.
Right. You know what? You know, if a top person says that, that the reaction would probably get cheered for someone they want to see go. Like, if Roman Reigns cut that promo right now, you probably get that 50-50 half cheers, half boos reaction.
Yeah.
It got no reaction. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. And let me ask you this question. And this is honest God's truth. And I'm not trying to beat up on the WWE by saying this, but who in the back just doesn't have a finger on the pulse of the crowd that actually thought that anybody was going to care about that promo?
It's
like,
Vince.
What are you watching? Like, who are you listening to?
Vince
like, I just don't get it.
Here's the thing, okay? The agents listen. The writers listen. They know what that crowd... Triple H even listen. I'll go as far as to say Triple H even listens. But the bottom line is, Vince does not care. Vince is going to... It's one man. I've said this for I don't know how long now.
No, Joe, I think you're letting a lot of people off the hook by just keep piling on Vince.
Well, here's the thing, though. After a while, when you know that Vince is not going to listen, why bring it up? The writers write for Vince. They write for his mindset, not the crowds, because if they wrote for the crowds, Vince would fire them all. Vince would be like, what kind of garbage is this pile, and fire them.
Well, so
you're
telling, but here's the thing. You're telling me a guy like Triple H doesn't have at least somewhat of the pull to go in there and be like, listen, Pops, I don't think we should do this. You know what I mean?
From reports, from what I gather, and from what people have said, he's done it before, and Vince shoots him down. At the end of the day, Vince is still in power. Vince still has the final say.
Oh, of course.
And it's the crazy grandpa syndrome. I've been saying it for 2 years now. At least 2 years. Over 2 years now.
Well, you know, the thing is like you get the idea that he really, and I agree, he's probably, you know, lost something off his fastball. But then again,
that's putting it mildly.
But then you to the other side of it is you hear Jericho, and if you believe what he said, about Vince understanding and getting it and this and that, about him going over to New Japan and him being a wrestling fan, that would tell me that maybe he hasn't lost as much as we think. No,
it tells me that Vince knew that Jericho's going to go do this whether Vince likes it or not, so Vince might as well give his blessing to do it.
Well, I mean, I get that's the...
And Vince might as well say,
yeah, but why?
For the business, pal, you know?
What is Vince's motivation for that, though? Like, let's be honest. At this point in time, he doesn't need Jericho.
No. Jericho
and let's face it, whether he gave Jericho the blessing or not, 5 years from now, if they need Jericho, and Jericho's not in wrestling, but Jericho wants to make a WrestleMania cameo, or they put him in a Hall of Fame or whatever, he's not going to say no because Vince didn't like the fact he went to New Japan. So what is Vince's motivation for giving his blessing? I just don't see. That's the thing. It's like, I don't think there is one. I think there might be some truth to what Jericho's saying, but I think at the same time, I just don't think there's a lot of really creative people working there right now. I think that's more the issue than anything. I don't think there's a lot of people that are creative enough and have the balls enough to make him want to do something different,
well,
or move in a different direction. I think they all collect their paycheck, write it, submit it. If he okays it, yep. If he doesn't, they write something else, and they're all fine with having a cushy job where they make good money and everything else. I don't want to, say they're not creative, but they're not creative enough. And I think in the past, there's been guys there, like them or dislike them. There's guys there that were there that you like, that I don't like, that I like, that you don't like. But at the end of the day, a lot of those guys had the balls to walk in there and be like, no, this is not right. We got to do this, Vince. We got to, Vince, this is not going to work.
Look
blah,
at
blah, blah. I just don't think there's enough of those people there where Vince is just like, damn, you know what? Nobody's pleading their case. Nobody's reaching for that brass ring in the back either.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing that kills me. Look at CM Punk. CM Punk did it. CM Punk didn't get what he wanted, and he
according
left.
to CM Punk.
Okay. There's not enough guys.
That's his take.
But here's my thing though. There's not enough guys willing to do what CM Punk did, and the reason why is because they know that half those guys on that roster. Look, there's only so many people. The indie market is already flooded, okay? It's already flooded. These promoters are not billionaires like Vince McMahon are. The guy who runs Northeast Wrestling, I'm sure he's got money, but if half the WWE walked out today and expected to make $13,000 a head per shot, there's no way that's not going to happen. Nobody.
You're right.
Nobody is going to be able to make. Okay, and the people who are in WWE know that, so they stay there. It reminds me of when Vince was on Steve Austin's podcast on the WWE Network, and Steve Austin brung up to him live. He goes, "What is it I hear with everybody walking on eggshells? Everybody's afraid to piss somebody off. That's why nobody takes any chances." And Vince McMahon's direct response to him was, "Well, don't piss anybody off then. Just don't piss anybody off." Vince is happy the way it is now. You know why? Vince could care less how much the live arenas are dropping on the house shows.
Oh my God!
What's wrong?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm watching Dallas and Oakland right now, and they're measuring for a first down, and literally, Dallas missed the first down by literally paper. Oh no, they're giving it to him.
Oh,
what do you mean? He missed it. Oh my God!
So anyway, what I was saying was, Vince really could care less about the live event gates, which is shocking to me that I say that because they just announced tonight that Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt has been added to this 205 Live tour, which tells me that the cruiserweights don't cut it, so the advance tickets aren't on fire for this 205 shit, which is how much they've diminished the brand. That they had to add the top guys on Raw. They're one of the top feuds from Raw to it, but he doesn't care. Vince doesn't care. Vince doesn't even care about the ratings. You know what Vince cares about? How much money he gets from USA every week to put those two shows on the air.
Well, yeah, but they do care about the ratings because eventually they're gonna have to renegotiate that contract.
Here's the thing, though.
And but listen, negotiating TV contracts in the UFC is going through this right now. Negotiating TV contracts in this day and age is not like it was 10 years ago. It's very different.
But the last time, about 4 years ago, when Vince was up for negotiation, this was when they, this is about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. What happened? The booking got better, right up until the point where they signed the dotted line. And once they signed on the dotted line and earned more money. That people tend to forget these ratings, these licensing deals to USA. They've been going up and up and up every year. So Vince wants to get even more money out of USA.
But I've been screaming about this for 5 years.
The booking is going to get better for that 3 or 4 month stretch that they're negotiating, and then the second the dotted line is signed, Vince is going to breathe a sigh of relief and just not give a shit anymore. He's going to get what he wants.
But there's the other side of this though, is from the USA standpoint, and I've been screaming about this for 3 years. Where everybody says USA is just going to dump them. They're not. Because here's the thing. Even if they get a 2.5 or a 3, they're still outrating every show on USA by a mile.
And on basic cable.
Listen, right, but that's the thing. Like, people got to understand, reruns of CSI and reruns of what's that other fucking show they rerun on USA all the time?
A Modern Family, Law.
All that stuff, Law and Order, all that stuff they rerun on. What did it get? A 0.5 rating, a 0.8 rating. The WWE at the end of the day could lose 1 million viewers right now and still smash everyone on that network. They're not going to drop them.
And here's another thing that USA. Here's another thing that USA is going to consider when it comes to renegotiate this. The programming for what it is still, like you said, getting the hottest rating on that network. Okay, whatever. But here's another thing. Fox just got bought by Disney, not because the Marvel deal and everybody's thinking. They got bought because Disney wants their movies. Disney wants their TV shows. Disney wants their content to put on the new Disney streaming service that is coming out next year. Also,
you're talking about 20th Century Fox.
21st Century Fox.
Right,
Fox Sports 1, all that, the Fox network, that's staying the same.
Right. Well, you got to say that though, because that's a big difference.
The Simpsons, Disney now owns the Simpsons, AC. So, and they want that content for their streaming service that they're launching next year.
They'll probably modernize it and take out some of the some of the real comedy.
Here's another thing. If I'm USA and NBC Universal, I'm scared of that, man. That's fucking banger competition. Because and it made me laugh tonight when they plugged Hulu. Disney now, if this deal goes through, Disney will own 60% of Hulu. Therefore, they're going to own another streaming service. If they don't convert Hulu into the Disney streaming service, they're going to own ESPN's streaming service, they're going to own the Disney streaming service, and they'll own Hulu. That's scary, man. So no wonder Vince isn't scared. No wonder Vince is sitting there going, I got my network, which only gets about 500,000 subscribers, if that, and that's okay, because that's earning me another revenue stream over here, which I really don't have to pay for. And goddamn, pal, USA's begging me to stay on there. They're going to offer me more money.
Right. Well, the other thing, too, is
it's not going to get any better,
here's the thing. If this is... You could create the perfect storm for Vince. And I'll tell you what the perfect storm is. Fox Sports 1 and Fox loses the UFC. If that happens, I'm telling you right now, they will go after WWE content. I guarantee it. And that will raise the value of WWE's content.
I don't see Fox losing it. Honestly,
they might not. I'm just saying, if they do, they will replace it with the WWE, and they will outbid. We've shown when Fox Sports wants something, when that portion of Fox wants something, they get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that, to me, that the perfect storm is if they were to lose the UFC, which I agree with you. I think the UFC is going to stay there. I just think they're going to stay. This is what I personally think is going to happen. The UFC is going to stay there, and WME is going to resell it because they're not going to get the TV contract that they wanted when they paid $4 billion for the UFC.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons for that, and we can stand here all night and talk about it, but the bottom line is that's just my personal opinion, what I think is going to happen. But before we finish up with this, the CM Punk stuff you're talking about, there's one thing about that, and I know me and Edwards have argued about, this is probably the only thing him and I have ever argued about since we podcasted together. The one thing about the CM Punk thing you got to remember is CM Punk was in a financial situation to do what he did.
Yep.
And listen, he did that on his own, and I get that. And that portion of him I respect. I understand that. And I'm not saying he isn't. But not every guy in that locker room has that ability. Not every guy could say, you know what, F you, I'm fine. I got millions upon millions of dollars. I live modestly. And then I just so happen to have enough friends that I could con my way into the UFC. That's not going to happen all the time. You know, Swagger leaves. And, you know, Swagger goes and does the indies. And Swagger hasn't
really popped up anywhere. He hasn't had the same. He has not had the same transition.
No, but he's gonna fight for Bellator.
It's Bellator.
Listen,
who gives a shit?
Listen, Bellator is paying just as much as UFC is right now. He could have went to the UFC too. He took the better deal because he knows Bellator is going to bring him along. In the UFC, he's going to have to win right away. He's going to have to and face tougher competition.
I think
he goes to Bellator, but here's the thing. This is my point with Swagger. Swagger doesn't have the same means as CM Punk. He can't just say, I'm going to take a year off, or I'm not even going to work. I'm just going to go do what I do. You know what I mean? Swagger has to go out and work the indies, has to sign a contract with Bellator, has to train as an MMA fighter. And listen, there's a chance he could fall on his face. There's a chance he could do decently. But he actually has the athletic background to actually fight. CM Punk never had. But it's not the same scenario. CM Punk walked away with millions and millions of dollars. When CM Punk walked away, he could have went away, never seen him again, and he would have been fine for the rest of his life. It's very different when you're in that situation. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's easy to say, well, you know what? CM Punk stuck his middle finger up at Vince, which he did. But he had the means to do it. Not many people do. John Cena and The Rock could do it. CM Punk could do it. Not a lot of other guys can. That's my only point.
I think also it's a matter of...
He's not a trailblazer. I think he had the ability to do it.
It's also a matter of Jack Swagger is just not that over as Cody Rhodes or somebody was. So the indie promoters weren't biting, so he figured, fuck, the wrestling thing is a dud. I might as well go fight for real.
But he was getting bookings and everything else. But I don't think, listen, Cody's younger. I think Cody just wanted to put more into it. I think Swagger said, you know what? And let's face it, Cody Rhodes is a pro wrestler. Cody Rhodes grew up as a pro wrestler. Jack Swagger was a dominant college level wrestler, a Brock Lesnar type wrestler.
Yeah.
They're a different breed. They're a competition breed. You know what? He goes to the WWE because there was no money for him and what he was doing. Now, those athletes have a decision to make. They can go to the UFC or Bellator, or they could go to the WWE. At the time when Swagger did it, at the time when Lesnar did it, at the time when Angle did it, they only had the WWE. So it's very different.
Let's get back into this pay-per-view match. Number 5 was the Bludgeon Brothers, Harper and Rowan, defeating Breezango. And at first I'm sitting there going, why the fuck is Breezango on this pay-per-view?
Right.
And then I was like, oh, yeah, the Bludgeon Brothers got to come out and squash him. It was less than 2 minutes is what this did.
You just knew that was coming.
I was like, thank fuck. All the women on Twitter going, Tyler's wearing short shorts. I'm like, oh my God, you can't see that much of his legs, people, because of the knee pads and kick pads. But oh well. They continue to get over Harper and Rowan. In my opinion, this could have been left on the pre-show, and you could have had more time for actually, I think all these matches were timed out pretty well. So
I mean, I just think, honestly, like, I think some of them, and I think
this could have been a commercial break.
I think there was a lot of dead time on the show, to be honest with you. Like, there was a lot of like commercialist and let's stretch it out here.
Let's give all the lumberjacks their own entrance, you know.
Yeah. And you know the thing too is with that match. I mean, obviously it was going to be a squash match. I'm not a fan of the Breezango thing, whatever. But the what you call it? The Bash Brothers, whatever the fuck they're called.
The Bludgeon Brothers.
The Bludgeon Brothers. I hate the name. I get what they're trying to do.
I see them come out with their hammers, and it reminds me of. There's 2 characters. I don't know if you ever played the Batman Arkham City video game.
I have not.
There's 2 big-ass clown characters that work for Harley Quinn and the Joker in this game, and one of them is their story in the comic is that they were born conjoined twins, and they were separated, so they each only have one arm. And one of them is a hammer. One of them carries a fucking hammer, and he's called Hammer Guy. So that's what this reminds me of when I see these 2 come out with their hammers. It's like
kind of overkill, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I like those 2, and this is the thing. I like those 2, and I want them to do something, and it's good that they're doing something. I get that, but just because they're doing something doesn't make it sustainable where it's kind of like you brought up where Rusev and Aiden English. Like, yeah, you know, people like it now, but where are you going with this? You know what I mean?
Sooner or later, Rusev is going to turn on Aiden or one of the 2, and then it's like, well, you're right back to square one with Rusev.
Well, my guess is right now, I mean, honestly, you've done so many different little versions of Rusev. He's kind of over right now. Like, you know, maybe it's his first babyface push. Aiden English turns on him and just squashes Aiden English and becomes a babyface. I mean, I don't know what else to say, you know.
So then we had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defeating Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura. The deal here is that if Owens and Zayn had lost, they would have been fired from all of WWE, so they couldn't go to Raw. And I'm glad they put that in there because everybody's sitting there going, "Oh, they're just going to win and lose and go to Raw." So they squashed that. Shane and Daniel Bryan are both referees.
I mean, how many referees do you need? Why do you have Stephanie Kerr and Vinnie Mac out there? Come on.
It fit the story, though. But, I mean, to me, it's like, okay, you take one half of the ring.
The story's lame, though.
honestly, I liked the last 5 minutes of the match. That was about it. The whole deal of it's like two brothers who shared the same room growing up. We're going to put a piece of tape down the middle of the room, and this is your side, this is my side, never the two shall meet. When, of course, that gets kiboshed. They put Nakamura, poor Nakamura, they lay him out on a table.
Should not have been in that match.
For half the match. No, he should have been in the Baron Corbin, Bobby Roode thing in that triple threat. Dolph Ziggler shouldn't have been in there.
Right, part of the reason I didn't like the match was the Orton Nakamura pairing. To me, was stupid. It didn't make any sense. You know what I mean?
Even after the match, they were kind of arguing with each other a bit, and then they calmed down and started fist bumping again. I'm like, no.
Like honestly, I thought the match would have been better if it was Orton and Shane versus Kevin and Sammy with DB with Daniel Bryan as the referee, and you could have created the same tension with DB and Shane by having him, maybe Zayn rolls up Shane and he gets the pin. And how dare you count to 3 on me? You know what I mean? Like, they could create the same thing. It was like almost like, we don't know. This is my problem with WWE as a whole. We have none for Nakamura to do right now, so go be Randy Orton's partner.
So they do this spot in the outside the ring before they do the table spot with Owens frog splashing knock, which was okay. It was a hell of a move. Okay. Where Daniel Bryan gets poked in the eye, or Shane got poked in the eye. I think it was Daniel Bryan that got poked in the eye. Daniel Bryan accidentally hit Shane. One of the two, whatever. Who cares? So this starts the tension, and then they do the bit where Shane is counting the 3 count against Sammy because Orton has him rolled up, and Kevin comes in the ring and rolls into the ring, and that forces Daniel Bryan to go into Shane. But Daniel Bryan doesn't say that. He just sits there with this damn dumbass look on his face instead of looking at Shane going, he pushed me into you. No, we're going to no-sell that. We're going to act like that never happened, which then ends up leading to Shane McMahon going to count the 3, but he stops after 2 and refuses to count it, and that leads to him and Daniel having a pissing match, which then leads to a fast count by Daniel Bryan when Sammy rolls up Orton after a failed RKO attempt, and then they have the whole deal on the outside with those 3, which Daniel Bryan really didn't hang around them that long. I guess he went to the back or whatever. And the ending of this, where they're on the outside gloating at each other, gloating back and forth between one another, it just went on forever. I don't think they should have done that and said, yep, whatever, and then bam, cut to black or something. The ending was good, but that whole bit post-bell was dragged on for way too long. And I'm just like,
yeah.
Now on Tuesday, it's going to open up with Shane and Daniel Bryan in the middle of the ring. They're going to show video clips and explain it back and forth.
Right.
And Shane it's either one or two things is going to happen. Either they're going to make another fucking match, or another bullshit match, or Shane is just going to say, fucking just outright fire everybody. He's going to
fire Daniel Bryan.
And everybody's sitting there going, this is going to lead to them putting Daniel Bryan back in the ring after countless times when they've said, nope, Joseph Maroon has to clear Daniel Bryan.
I think they're going to have to put him in the ring.
Regardless of what Maroon thinks, you think they do that?
Well, I mean, you already got Jericho wrestling New Japan now.
Doesn't matter. They got their whole wellness policy at stake with this, man.
Come on, wellness policy. Their fucking champion failed a USDA administered drug test, and they did nothing. Come on, it's a farce as it is.
Yeah, but all this talk of concussions and everything, when you start getting into the concussion debate, that's a whole different animal than just failing. But
listen, the concussion debate in football is different because there was this major lawsuit brought on by ex-players and everything else.
Which is what WWE is trying to avoid.
Right, yeah, but here's the thing: if they went to Daniel Bryan tomorrow and were like, "Listen, we're gonna let you wrestle, but you're gonna sign a waiver saying that we are not responsible."
Waiver or no waiver, it's still okay. That prevents them from having a court case against them. But from a public relations standpoint, waiver or no waiver, it doesn't matter.
Joe, come on. They don't care. Like, let's be honest. They know the hardcore fans don't give a fuck. They want to see Daniel Bryan wrestle.
Yeah, true.
And listen, public relations, again, their Universal Champion, the guy who's wearing their #1 title right now, failed a USDA administered drug test in the UFC, and they basically said he wasn't their employee then when he was.
Yeah, you're right.
And they did nothing about it. They've already listen. He's part-time. He's not covered under wellness. Come on. Their wellness policy is a joke. They suspend a guy like Roman Reigns to make people believe that it actually is a policy, but it isn't. It's a joke. Come on, The Rock could come back tomorrow, and they're never going to test him.
True.
And listen, I'm not going to accuse – I don't know what The Rock is taking, but if somebody told me The Rock was taking something, looking at the man, I would not be surprised. Well, it's not – look at Triple H.
Yeah,
he's 45 years old.
To me, I'm telling you, to me, failing a drug test and having the risk of somebody dying in your ring if they get hit in the head one more time is way too different animals.
I mean, do we know it's that extreme with Daniel Bryan now? Do we know? Like, come on, do we really know it's that extreme?
I don't think it's that extreme, but I think that here's the deal. Here's what I think happened. He went after doctor after doctor after doctor who said, no, you're fine. No, you're fine. No, you're fine. And then they found Maroon is sitting there going, no, you're not fine. And then he's like, okay, well, if I have one more doctor besides Maroon tell me no, then I'll believe it. He found that one fucking doctor out of a million who said no. And he's like, okay, we now have 2 no's and a bunch of yeses. WWE's going to believe the no's, and they're going to park me anyway. They're not going to let me work throughout my contract, so I might as well, quote-unquote, retire, do the GM thing, and do my little song and dance and get paid. And then I'll probably, in his mind, he's sitting there thinking, I'm going to be 10 times more over after this on the indies, And that's what he's thinking. Are we going to see him wrestle or stay in WWE?
See, now here's the thing. If I'm an indie with him, I'd be nervous about putting him on my show. But if I'm New Japan, and again, he's willing to sign a waiver, and I know that I'm trying to be number 2, And
here's the kicker. You don't have him wrestle in the United States for New Japan. What happens over there in Japan, he can't sue. If he signs a waiver over there and everything, and it's Japanese law, he's not going to be able to fight that as well as somebody could over here in the States. I get your point on that. There's people over there in New Japan working for them right now that have fucked up necks and fucking Tanahashi worked on a damn bad leg.
Well,
look at Omega.
Obviously the big
2 weeks after surgery. I mean, come on.
The big rumor is that again, it's wrestling rumors. You take them all with a grain of salt. I'm the biggest advocate of that. But at the same time, do you think it's crazy? The Bucks and Omega are putting on that show, 10,000 seat arena, Cody versus Daniel Bryan or Omega versus Daniel Bryan, if they can make it happen. And, Daniel gets a doctor's approval.
Cody has been beating people with the damn LaBelle lock. He put the LaBelle lock on Dalton Castle this past Friday. So everybody says that's him hinting at him wanting to wrestle Daniel Bryan at this 10,000 seat thing.
Right.
They
want to sell 10,000 tickets. I mean, Daniel Bryan would help that a lot.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
You ever seen the movie with Kevin Costner, the baseball movie? If you build it, they will come. That's the concept. They're going to sell 10,000. They're going to sell 10,000 seats no matter who's on the card. And 10,000 of them are going to be there with their Bullet Club shirts on and too sweet, whatever.
You love it. Come on.
Dude.
You have a Bullet Club shirt in your closet.
I have a Too Sweet Me shirt in my closet. Thank you. That I got for free out of a Wrestle crate. So I don't want to, But
stop it.
But here's the thing. Here's my point. If you build it, they will come like brainless, useless fucking sheep. They're gonna, whether it's 10,000 seats, 5,000 seats, if they hold the arena.
Right. That's why they had 20,000 in the other garden tonight.
If they hold this arena, if they hold this show at Paducah, Kentucky Stadium. They're going to come to it.
You love that Paducah.
They're going to come to it. And it doesn't matter who's on the card. It doesn't matter who's putting it on. Just the fact that it's Cody and the Bullet Club, and they want to prove Meltzer wrong, and they want to stick it to Vince, or they think this is going to stick it to Vince. It's not. It's not even a blip on Vince's radar. It's not even a blip on anybody else's fucking radar but Meltzer's. Get your fucking head out of the clouds, people. Come on. That's all I gotta say. It's good. If you build it, they will come. It doesn't matter if you build the damn thing with half a ring, no rope, one rope, broken rope. If you build it, they will come because they're sheep. Rant over. Anyway.
I agree with you, though.
AJ
but I'm just saying Daniel Bryan makes it a lot easier, too.
Daniel Bryan would be okay. If they put Daniel Bryan on the card, it goes to 15,000 seats. That's it.
Daniel Bryan versus Daniel Bryan versus Omega.
It's going to be a good match. The
minute.
Matches will be good. Right. It'll be a lot of flippity flu. 6 people trying to do fucking drop kicks like we got. Which your UFC boy is like, grown men watch this, and I agree with him on that spot. Yes, sadly they fucking watch that shit, and it's not their fault.
Who are you talking about, Conor McGregor?
Yeah, I don't know who the hell did it. Some UFC guy tweeted, "Grown men watch this," and it was the drop kick spot from Friday night.
Honestly, I haven't even watched Final Battle yet.
Let me put it this way: that 6-man whatever, they go for drop kicks. They do the double drop kick, and then 2 more people do the double drop kick, and then 2 more people do the double drop kick, and then they're all 6 of them in the ring looking at each other, and you hear them go.
Was it the Bullet Club versus Flip in that match?
It was the Young Bucks, whatever match the Young Bucks were in, because it can only happen with
my
the
boy
Young
Flip
Bucks.
was in that match.
So they're all standing in the ring, and you hear whoever's calling the spot go 3, 2, and then they all jump up, 6 of them, and do a 6-man drop kick in the middle of the ring, and everybody's like, "Yay!" I'm sitting there going, what the fuck are y'all cheering for? That was fucking stupid.
Now here's the real question: did you pay for it, or did you legally stream it?
I streamed it.
I had to call you out on it.
So fuck you! You didn't get my money, you motherfuckers, for your little 6-man drop kick bullshit. Fuck you! And you know what? And actually, I didn't even stream it. I watched the spot on YouTube. It was on YouTube. So here's what kills me though. I don't blame the workers, because they're sitting there going, "How can we pop them tonight? We know they're going to pop for whatever we feed them."
It's working. That's the
I
thing.
blame the fans. I've said this for 6 months now.
I blame
the fans who cheer for that shit. Wake up, take your Bullet Club shirts, wipe your ass with them, and take your fucking blinders off and realize that shit has no place in a wrestling ring. It's not funny. It doesn't draw money. It's stupid. So stop cheering for it.
But in the same breath, you tell people not to cheer for Roman Reigns.
It's the same thing. Don't cheer for Roman Reigns either.
well, we can't have it both ways, though. Come on, man.
It's not having it
I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying you can't have it both ways, though. That's the thing.
AJ and Jinder. Jinder could have been out there killing puppies, and there would have been no response. And poor AJ, man. I feel so sorry for AJ.
I thought the match was decent, but it was the crowd reaction wasn't what you want.
The crowd sitting there looking at their phones. Half of them were leaving halfway through it.
Well, I get what they were trying to do, with the AJ. Oh, the ribs, and he's taking all. I think it was done to make AJ, build up AJ even more, which is nice. I just don't think people buy Jinder in that spot, and I think that's the problem.
And they don't, and hopefully after this we'll never see him in that spot again, because it's clear that they're.
I mean, I wouldn't think he'd be in the title picture after this, right? I mean, that has to be the end of that scenario, I would think.
The rumor is it's going to be AJ versus Nakamura for the title at Mania, and I hope so, and I hope they give them 30 to 45 minutes to tear the fucking house down. Then I'm sitting there going.
I mean, I could just as easily see it being AJ and Kevin Owens too. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, honestly, right now the character of Kevin Owens I'd rather see than Nakamura.
Here's how stupid going back to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Here's how stupid my mind got at one point tonight during watching this kerfluffle. I'm sitting there going, what if Kevin and Sami lose, and then they do fire them, quote unquote fire them, and the company lets them go to Ring of Honor for like 6 months. And then they bring them back. And then I'm sitting there going, after I said that in my mind, I'm sitting there going, oh, who the fuck are you kidding? That's never going to fucking happen because Vince will never allow that shit. But I had to reel myself back in from the wild fantasy. I'm more likely to have Pamela Anderson sit on my face than that to happen, you know? But, I mean, the AJ thing is just, you know, Jinder could have been out there killing puppies and the crowd wouldn't have cared. The crowd would have been like, what is it, a Doberman next? Oh, let me text somebody. That's how it is. I mean, they don't care. They don't care about him.
Right.
And the whole deal about we'll save him for India, Triple H beat him in India.
I just don't understand how...
India, #1.
Boy, this might be the most controversial day in the history of the NFL. Oh, my God.
It shows you how much you care about this pay-per-view. You're more interested in the football game.
I know, it's just in front of me. And between the call in the Steelers-Patriots game and the call in the first down call in this game, wow, crazy.
So I mean, that was your Clash of Champions. AJ defeated him by submission with the calf crusher. I'm curious to see where they go with the title picture. I'm going to tune in to see where they go with Owens and Zayn. As for the rest of it, I don't care. Those are the top 2 storylines on the show. The rest of it, I don't care. Maybe you see Ziggler coming out there and showing it off and wiggling his ass with the title again.
I don't think people care enough about that title to really.
Yeah.
You know.
What do you mean, the world title?
No, I don't think people care enough about the U.S. title.
Yeah. But, I mean, you know, the tag titles, they just beat everybody in the tag division. In one fell swoop. Except for, what are you going to do? Have the Usos versus the Bludgeon Brothers?
I think they're building towards that.
Do you have the Usos to get defeated by Owens and Zayn? To gain more leverage in their feud, maybe?
I would not like that. But
I wouldn't like it either.
It wouldn't shock me if they went that route. I think you're going to see the Usos hold them until probably I mean sometime around Mania, and the Bludgeon Brothers will probably beat them the way they're building them.
The Usos. Here's what I could see: you do the Usos, New Day, Shelton, and Gable, Rusev and Aiden English. Throw the Bludgeon Brothers and the Breezango in there.
Would it shock you if they did a complete fucking 4-team rematch on SmackDown this week?
No,
it wouldn't shock me.
But as far as Mania or the Rumble goes, I mean, everybody's going to be in the Rumble. But as far as Mania goes, the only thing I think they have left to do is have the Usos carry it through to Mania, till Mania, and do a tag team turmoil at Mania.
Maybe. How about a tag team? How about a tag team Money in the Bank match with the briefcase? Instead of doing a championship, do something different like they did the women last year. Maybe do a tag team one next year.
Yeah, that could work.
I mean, the problem is, I see with that. It's just, to me, and I've been saying this forever, I really think the women should be on one show and the tag team should be on one show.
Yep, they should.
You should have one title and one title. If you want to have Universal title and World title, okay. You want to have Intercontinental title, U.S. title, okay. It's kind of overkill. But it's really overkill having 2 women's champions and having 2 tag team champions. Because to me, right now, if you had a tag team title in play with the Usos, you're building up the Bludgeon Brothers, whatever. Then you have Cesaro and Sheamus. You got the Shield tag team and everything else. You'd really have a lot of teeth in the tag division. But like you said, it's going to be very interesting where they go with the tag division now, because was that the last chance for Gable and Benjamin? I don't know. Do you want to stick with Usos and New Day? Maybe. I don't know. This is the thing. I could see them doing like Rusev and Aiden English for the titles tomorrow night, or Tuesday night, but I don't know if that's even good to go to yet. You might be going to the well too quick right there.
Your boy Daniel Cormier weighed in on this damn flippity-floppity dropkick sequence, and he goes, This is actually pathetic. This is what people want to see. Go to a goddamn gymnastics competition. Right out of the mouth of Jim Cornette. Suplex, body slam, pile driver, do some old school wrestling, man. DDT. I remember when the Frankensteiner was the most you'd see anyone flip. I say boo this BS. Thank you, Daniel Cormier. All right, there we go.
He's opinionated, and he's a real wrestler. So I mean, listen, DC, you know, as crazy as it is, and I've said this on a lot of podcasts recently, how DC, bro, listen, like we got to talk about this. They literally used a piece of paper to try to figure out if they got the first down or not. Unbelievable. Anyway, Daniel Cormier should be. Like the guy has lost 2 fights in his career, and they're both to Bones Jones, who we now know just probably juiced to the gills his whole career, and not God knows what else he was taking. And that's the only guy he ever lost to, and fans they don't gravitate towards him. So maybe he's just gonna get back into that heel mode and just piss everybody off. Which
so here's what
I kind of like.
Here's what Cody Rhodes had to say. Here's what Cody Rhodes had to say in reply to DC. He goes, "It's not pathetic. The paying audience enjoyed it. They'd enjoy anything on their fucking show." He says UFC is thriving.
Honestly, Cody's point is fair too, though.
He goes, UFC is thriving and pro wrestling has been going. This is the part that makes me laugh. Pro wrestling has been going strong since 1920. Besides, most of y'all ask Hunter for a job when the wheels fall off anyway, and most of y'all are on the comp list at Staples, so lay the fuck off. Cody coming back strong, man. 1920 though, he says.
The only thing is, if you know, let's be fair here, Cody.
1920
in a real fight, Cody. You know, it's you know, you have fun with what you're doing, but in a real fight.
Jim Cornette chimes in. Come on, Cody, don't encourage these ballet dancers. UFC's kicking pro wrestling's ass all over the world because of shit like this. I know you have to work with all these clowns, but it's embarrassing.
I don't know if that's accurate either, though.
He goes, I know you have to work with all these clowns, but it's embarrassing. Grown men used to want to wrestle. Now they want to fight in the UFC because of this shit. I don't agree with that, you know, but.
I think everybody's on too extreme one way or the other. You know what I mean? I think there's more common ground here than
somebody
that.
tweeted.
I think listen, it's all entertainment. I look at it this way, and to Cody's point, if the audience, the paying audience that's there enjoys it, if the people that bought the pay-per-view enjoy it, I get it. But to your point, they shouldn't
enjoy it.
Hold on. To your point. Can you build on that audience by doing this constantly?
No.
That's the real issue.
Because then
the real issue,
you got
can
somebody,
you build the audience further by doing it?
When you got somebody coming out like Daniel Cormier that is telling people to boo that shit, that's a pretty strong pendulum that everybody's going to gravitate to me.
But you're also taking a real fighter versus a performance, and you've got to, you know, it's
over probably.
Hey, Conor McGregor ripped the WWE again this weekend.
Yeah, I saw
he does
that.
It every time because. This is the thing. Dirt sheets like to stir shit up. That's not true for clickbait.
Especially
Conor McGregor is never performing on the WWE in this realm because they can't even pay him enough money right now. The UFC won't pay him enough money, and there's no. Listen? If Vince McMahon wants Conor McGregor to show up at WrestleMania, you know what Conor McGregor's going to tell him? Give me $10 million. You think he's going to do that? There's not a chance in hell that's going to happen. When Floyd Mayweather fought, wrestled, whatever he did with the Big Show, whatever you want to call it, performed with the Big Show, was before he made his big money.
Let's talk about some New Japan, shall we?
Sure.
There's a video that I was going to play on the show, but if I play it, you won't be able to hear it, and I'm not going to expect you to stay silent on the line for 20 minutes. There's a YouTuber out there that I encourage, and I might play this Tuesday morning. But there's a guy out there. His name is Showbuckle, SHOWBUCKLE, all one word. He's on YouTube. He did a brilliant video called "The Rise and Fall of Tetsuya Naito," and I encourage everybody to go watch it. And he released this on October 20th.
Do you want to play it on the show and I'll watch along while you're playing it?
Yeah. I'll send you the link on Twitter here. And here's what this video does, and we could discuss it, and then we can watch the video here, because
I'll tag you in it here if it'll let me. I may have to. Why is Twitter being such an ass right now? I don't get it. But anyway, in this video, he makes a good point for Tatsuya and for Naito, and he talks about it's called the fall and then rise. And you're a New Japan fan, so you may know a lot of this already about how he was supposed to be the golden boy, and he ended up going to Mexico and joining Los Ingobernables, and then bringing out Los Ingobernables to Japan, and how he was supposed to headline the Tokyo Dome twice, but fan votes got him ousted from it. So, I'm trying to see if Twitter will cooperate with me. This year, to me, was supposed to be his year. And it's going to be his year. He's going to main event. That match is going to main event.
Absolutely. It should.
Do you think that Jericho Okada, or Jericho Omega, though, has once again stolen Naito's thunder? Because in 19...
I think in this country, yes.
Yeah, because in Japan, everybody still thinks Naito and Omega is the main event. But my question is, do you think that the rug has been pulled out from Naito? Because here it is, it's kind of worked out for him in that.
I got to see the show first. I think it's a fair point when you look at the reaction here.
Well, here's what I think, though. Here's what I think, that Naito feels like he should have all the audience. If this is his year, he got slighted out twice of a main event. He hasn't main evented the Tokyo Dome yet. This is his year to main event, and he's going to main event. But my thing is, if I'm Naito, I'm sitting there going, New Japan has grown so much, and I'm part of the reason why it's growing. These American fans are coming over to see me, and then they book this shit, and it's like it's stealing my American heat away from me, you know?
But see, the thing is, you could say that, but if it brings more eyes to the show, and you go out after that match and steal the show, I don't see how it's not beneficial.
My thing is, though,
I'll liken it to this.
How many people are going to come back?
2 years ago, Nakamura and AJ were the co-main event. They weren't the main event. It was Okada and Tanahashi, and in that scenario, you could say the same thing, that in the eyes of people in the U.S. would be the bigger match because AJ Styles is a part of it. But when you watch that show and the match that Okada and Tanahashi had and the way the announce team sold that match, watching that show, absolutely the biggest match on that show, the match of the year, was Okada versus Tanahashi. So my point being is, right now it may seem that way, but if you get all those extra eyeballs, and then Naito and Okada go out there and put on one of Meltzer's 6-star matches,
which I don't think they
steal
will.
the thunder right back. I'll tell you this: Jericho and Omega will be good, and it's going to bring eyes, but that match will be better. Naito and Omega will be better.
Here's the thing, though. Will it be better in somebody of the eyes of Dave Meltzer, who has been licking Kenny Omega's ass for the last 2 years?
Yeah, but here's the other thing: is if you're a fan of something, do you let's be honest, if you're out there listening, do you need Dave Meltzer to tell you what's good and what's not? If you need that, you need help. Judge it with your own eyes.
Do you think that some of the popularity of New Japan has to do with Meltzer putting it over like he has?
In here?
Yeah.
Maybe, or YouTube. I think Meltzer's helped. Sure. In the U.S., yeah. But but the other thing that's helped is the fact that those guys have come over and wrestled in ROH now as well.
But, I mean, I wanted to play this video. I don't know if you got it yet.
Yeah, I got it.
I want you to go ahead and watch it. I'm going to turn you down here on the Skype-a-lator here. I'm going to play this video, and we can discuss it a little bit when we come back. Okay?
All right.
disenchanted with Naito. In contrast to the G1 finals, crowds gradually lose faith in him, with each subsequent event garnering worse and worse reactions. Everything comes to a head in Osaka, at Power Struggle. It's here where the final matches for Wrestle Kingdom 8 are confirmed, and people are still holding out hope for another Okada-Tanahashi confrontation. However, Tanahashi is challenged by longtime rival Nakamura, leaving Okada to face Naito. The entire sequence is awkward and uncomfortable, but when Naito calls himself Shuyaku again, it sounds like a joke. By the end of the confrontation, people are actively laughing at him. In front of the booker, the ace, and the whole world, Naito bombs spectacularly. His credibility is ruined. He's not the hero, he's not the babyface, he's not the Shuyaku, he's a joke. As Wrestle Kingdom looms ever closer, New Japan opens a poll in response to the dismal reaction. For the first time in history, fans get to vote on which match main events Wrestle Kingdom 8, Okada vs. Naito or Nakamura vs. Tanahashi. As Naito waits for the result of the poll, he participates in the 2013 World Tag League and forms a partnership with charismatic Mexican luchador, La Sombra. In this atmosphere of fan backlash and corporate betrayal, they become close friends. Finally, January 1st arrives, and Naito has lost the main event of the Tokyo Dome by a vote of 2-1. He's defeated by Okada in a very good but unspectacular match that signals the end of Naito's opportunity to be the top babyface of the company. 2014 is a difficult year for the Stardust genius. At the new beginning, Naito returns to Osaka, and the crowd is merciless. He loses the Never title to Tomohiro Ishii, and his attitude slowly begins to deteriorate. He has mediocre showings in both the 2014 New Japan Cup and the G1 Climax 24, all while receiving poor crowd reactions. It's clear the failure is getting to him, as his attitude becomes increasingly negative. Once again, he aligns with his friend La Sombra for the World Tag League, who, along with allies Rush and La Máscara, have turned their back on the fans, forming Los Ingobernables in Mexican promotion CMLL. This time period has a profound effect on Naito, and it wouldn't be long before he temporarily leaves New Japan to join his ungovernable friends in Mexico. 1 year after his humiliation at Wrestle Kingdom 8, Naito is again handily defeated at the Tokyo Dome. After spending most of early 2015 languishing away in inconsequential tag matches, Naito travels to Mexico, where he reunites with his friend La Sombra, who welcomes him into his stable of rebellious misfits. In CMLL with his fellow Ingobernables, Naito is finally able to cut loose and vent his frustration at being rejected by his fans and betrayed by New Japan. Rush, La Máscara, and especially La Sombra become his close allies and mentors as the last remnants of the Stardust genius are stripped away. Naito returns to Japan at the end of June 2015 at Korakuen Hall, and there's something different about him. Initially, the crowd is pleased to see him back, but their polite cheers turn to murmurs of confusion as he refuses to have his arm raised in victory once the match is over. The following week, at Dominion 7.5, once again Naito's fate is intertwined with the fans in Osaka. He makes his full re-debut in a tag match with enduring crowd favorite underdog, Tomoaki Honma. Honma is immediately attacked by the Bullet Club and begs Naito for help. Naito simply looks on as Honma repeatedly gets the stuffing beaten out of him. If the Osaka crowd hated him before, they absolutely despise him now. When he does decide to participate, it's only reluctantly, and he revels in the crowd's disapproval. In fact, the only thing he's interested in is his Los Ingobernables hat. By the time the G1 Climax 25 begins, Naito has fully transformed into El Ingobernable. He has emotionally divested himself from the fans, the company, and his fellow wrestlers. The only time he exhibits any emotion at all is when he faces the man he could never live up to, the man who helped cause his downfall, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Immediately, Naito's overcome with anger and he viciously assaults the ace. But things don't go his way as Tanahashi takes advantage of Naito's anger and uses it against him. Naito has to be tranquilo, remember what his friends in Mexico taught him. He lays down on the entrance ramp to compose himself. Throughout this match, Naito does his best to be nonchalant, but is unable to fully suppress his hatred for Tanahashi. He becomes violent and unpredictable, usually to his own detriment. Tanahashi can beat an unfocused, angry opponent, he's done it many times before. But the carefree, tranquilo Naito is bewildering, and Tanahashi is unable to keep up. Naito uncharacteristically targets Tanahashi's neck, and he's absolutely vicious, culminating in the first use of the Destino. Naito's new finisher comes out of nowhere, and Tanahashi is totally unprepared. It's as sudden as it is devastating, completely annihilating Tanahashi. But Naito's lust for revenge isn't sated yet. He grabs the mic, and for the first time utters his signature phrase. To a chorus of boos, he declares his allegiance not to New Japan, not to the fans, but to Los Ingobernables. Los Ingobernables! He poses with his foot on the broken body of the once-in-a-century talent as the boos rain down, and nothing will ever be the same. The G1 marches on, and Naito does everything in his power to be hated. But, among the audience, something begins to change. Amidst the deluge of boos, there's an undercurrent of appreciation, maybe even respect. Even those responsible for Naito's downfall in Osaka have begun to change their minds about this rebellious antagonist. Naito is founding a movement. He is a symbol for people mistreated by their employers and abandoned by society. He spends the rest of 2015 and early 2016 gathering other like-minded individuals to his side. The King of Darkness, Evil, and the jet-black death mask, Bushi. He founds the Japanese branch of Los Ingobernables, attracting a legion of fans. After winning the 2016 New Japan Cup, he finally gets a second attempt at Okada's IWGP Heavyweight title. After harassing Okada for weeks, the day of the match finally arrives. It's Naito's moment once again, but this time he has the support of the crowd and his fellow Ingobernables. The match begins, and Naito uses his tranquilo attitude to frustrate Okada. And just like in the matches with Tanahashi, when Okada gets frustrated, he makes mistakes. He overcommits on attacks and frequently underestimates Naito's skills. Even worse, he neglects to prepare for the rest of LIJ. Naito's well-coordinated and efficient pals interfere constantly, culminating with the debut of Sanada, allowing Naito to get the pin and finally fulfill his dream of winning the IWGP Heavyweight title. But he's a different man now. He doesn't care about the title anymore and tosses it aside. Naito only wants to prove that he is the Shuyaku of New Japan, and therefore above any title. Unfortunately for Naito, he has a long way to go before dethroning the new ace. In a straight one-on-one rematch, he still doesn't quite measure up, despite kicking out of Okada's Rainmaker. At the time, only the second person ever to do so. Still, in Osaka, he is no longer greeted with only boos, but cheers and chants, too. This is his town, and the crowd knows it. Whether they love him or hate him, everyone's focus is squarely on the Ingobernable one. He may not be the heavyweight champion anymore, but Naito still has some unfinished business with a title belt. He sets his sights on Michael Elgin's Intercontinental title. Not because he values the belt or what it stands for, but because he hates it. He's out for revenge. This is the title that stole his place at Wrestle Kingdom 8 3 years ago. It's a symbol of his failure as the Stardust Genius. He takes every opportunity to toss and mutilate the belt. maybe if he destroys it physically, he can finally destroy the part of himself that still clings to his past of the Stardust genius. As Wrestle Kingdom 11 draws relentlessly closer, Naito is once again confronted by his old rival, Hiroshi Tanahashi. In a desperate bid to continue to headline the largest show of the year, Tanahashi suggests the possibility of another fan vote to decide the main event of Wrestle Kingdom. With the IWGP Heavyweight title match being contested between Okada and less popular, relatively unproven Kenny Omega, it's conceivable that a fan vote would indeed allow Tanahashi and Naito into the main event. However, Naito rejects the possibility outright, thereby robbing Tanahashi of his coveted 7th straight Wrestle Kingdom headline. They clash and stubbornly attempt to outdo one another with the same attacks. But anything Tanahashi can do, Naito does better. A devastating Destino ends Tanahashi on what has traditionally been his biggest stage, with Naito finally getting revenge for his stolen main event exactly 3 years before. There's one last item on Naito's checklist, one last goal he needs to accomplish to finally overcome his past failures: main eventing Wrestle Kingdom for the IWGP Heavyweight title. Naito powers his way through the 27th G1 Climax tournament, beginning with an explosive win over returning star Kota Ibushi, and finishing with yet another decisive victory over Tanahashi. However, waiting in the finals is Kenny Omega, the man who crushed his chances of entering the finals last year. In this match, Naito pulls out all the stops. He knows that if he doesn't win here, he may never have his chance at the Wrestle Kingdom main event. They each unleash their entire arsenal as they throw everything they have at each other. Naito even uses the Stardust Press for the first time in over 2 years, but it fails. The old Stardust Genius Naito was never able to finish the job anyway. Only the new Ingobernable Naito is capable of winning the G1 Climax and main eventing Wrestle Kingdom. After a devastating Destino, Kenny finally stays down. Naito again declares that he's the Shuyaku of New Japan. And as the confetti falls, surrounded by fans, allies, and accolades, for the first time, it's true. Here it is, finally a new video. Time since the last release, so thank you everyone for your patience. I'd like to give a special shout out to my patrons, especially these top tier supporters. Your contributions really mean a lot. If you would like to support the channel, head over to my Patreon page for discussions, ad-free, and early release content, as well as exclusive videos. Again, sorry about the delay, and hopefully I'll be back to making regularly scheduled updates. Professional wrestling is
Casey, you back with me?
superstars, the larger-than-life individuals who attract a legion of fervent fans.
I had to hang up on him. Hopefully he'll get back with me. Hold on here. I don't know why, but the OBS is like flipping out on me right now, folks. I don't know why. Hold on here. But watching that, folks, I mean, you can see where I am a bit reserved here. Hold on, let me check something. Because watching that video may have... I have to restart Skype. Hold on. But watching that video kind of puts you into perspective of, hey, you know, is this really Naito's year? And then they dump a match like that on us with the Chris Jericho bit. So let me see if it's actually coming through. You're gonna hear me echo here for a minute. Why is that so low? Check, 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 check. I have no idea why that is so low. Hold on. Echo bit. So let me see if it's actually coming through. You're going to hear me echo here for a minute. Why is that so low? Hold on, folks. I'm trying to get it together here. Skype really threw this thing off, apparently. If somebody's in the chat room, let me know if they can even hear me right now. I'm trying to get it together here. Skype really threw this thing off, apparently. Because I don't know if this thing is even working now. It's crazy. It's the first time this has ever done this. I have the gain on this thing turned all the way up. Let me know if they can even hear me right now. My system is registering it, I think. Here. I know y'all heard that because it's tested. And I just don't know what the microphone is doing. It's crazy. It's the first time this has ever done this. I may have to go ahead and restart this for those watching. So give me 1 second here. My system is registering it, I think. Here. And there it is coming through on the YouTube. So the system sounds are coming through, but the microphone isn't. Give me 1 second. I just don't know what the microphone is doing. It's the first time this has ever done this. I may have to go ahead and restart this. How about, yeah, it's an OBS issue. 1 second here. My system is registering it, I think. Yeah. And there it is coming through on the YouTube. So the system sounds are coming through, but the microphone isn't. Give me 1 second. Don't know what the microphone is doing. I may have to go ahead and restart this. Now I don't know if it's even coming through or not. Hold on here. Can you hear me, AC?
Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Hello?
Hold on.
You're really low.
Yeah, I know. Give me 1 second here, okay?
Okay.
I may have to restart my computer and jump back on. I have no idea why I'm so low right now. This is crazy. Like, my soundboard is registering this fine.
You sound good now.
I do?
Yep.
Is it coming through good now? Okay, now it's coming through. I don't know what the hell was up with that. How about now? Can you still hear me?
Yep.
OBS, is it coming through clear, though, like it was before?
Yeah, you sound just the same.
Good, okay. I have no idea what the deal with that was. That is freaking crazy. OBS has never done that to me before, ever. Anyway, you watched the video. I heard you watching the video.
Yes.
Pretty good video, isn't it?
Yeah, it was cool. I liked it.
I like that guy's stuff. Shout out to Showbuckle for letting me use that. I'm probably going to get copyright striked anyway because I'm sure his video got copyrighted with all the music and shit. But I got to say...
Oh, he allowed you to use it?
Yeah, well, he put the video up. That video is all him. The music and everything, though, in that video is what's going to get me copyrighted because I played it on my channel.
Right.
But he allowed... I didn't just go play his video. I actually emailed him earlier and asked him today for permission to do this. And he said, yeah, go ahead, do whatever. Thanks for giving me a shout-out, whatever the case may be. And I'm going to put a link to his, for those watching this on the archive, I'm going to put a link below to his channel. So thank you very much to him. A lot of hard work went into that video. You could tell with the editing and everything. That shit took some time to do. And it showed. The guy put in the work and it showed. But watching that video, yes, it's kind of done from a half kayfabe perspective. I mean, I get that. But if I'm Naito, sitting there telling somebody that Jericho and Omega is a semi-main event and that's a co-semi-main event, that to me is warranted. I don't know if you heard that rumor making the rounds that he went on a press conference and said it's not a co-main event. That's a co-semi-main event. I'm the main event. There's only one main event of this show. And I agree with that.
That's what he should say.
Yeah, that's what he should say. But
I agree.
And I agree from a non-kayfabe standpoint. That is the main event. I mean,
yeah, it is the main event.
And even more watching that show, I think it would draw the same amount of fanfare and maybe not the live ticket sales, because they say the live ticket sales have probably doubled what they're going to be from last year. So I really, they said.
Wait, the live ticket sales are double?
Well, maybe not double, but they say that it's a big, vast improvement over last year.
So what they have, like 60,000 last year?
I want to say they had 60,000 last year. Let me see.
So they're going to have like 80, 100,000?
Meltzer is saying that they have 80 to 100,000 in that dome.
Wow, that's pretty good, man.
But
is that because of Jericho?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm debating. I don't think that's because of Jericho. Now, Meltzer has came out and said that the amount of tickets. See, how it works is they release tickets to people in Japan, and then they release tickets to people elsewhere, like America.
Okay.
And there's not as many tickets that go on sale to the American audience as would be the Japanese audience.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, because, I mean, how many Americans are going to fly over for Wrestle?
That's what they're saying. That's their whole thing, is how many people are going to actually, fly over there and everything, because it's $1,000 ticket just to fly over there. Then you got to do a hotel room, you got to eat, you got to do all that stuff. So I'm wondering, this year, though, in 2017, 2018, like we are now, yes, there's people willing to do that. Look at how many people are willing to go out to California and spend $1,000 to go watch a 2-night tournament at PWG. Think about this 10,000-seat arena thing. You think it's going to be solely comprised of American fans? No. Think about WrestleMania. It's not just WrestleMania that draws huge people anymore, You still with me?
Yep, I'm here.
So I'm sitting here wondering if, how much of this ticket sale hike is to be accredited to Jericho and Omega. I say yes, a lot of it. Is it right to call that a semi-main event? Yes. Is Jericho wrong to say that this is a double main event show? Yes. It's for the goddamn United States title, for crying out loud, which to me is like...
No, they don't care about that title.
They don't care about it.
I agree with you. They don't care. Nobody cares about that title. They might care, there may be fans here that think that title's a big deal. Let's face it, how many defenses has he had? None?
3?
Right. I mean, let's be honest. He won it on a show in the U.S. He's going to defend it against Jericho. But I will say it has a big impact internationally because it's Jericho. I get that. But the idea that Naito shouldn't be saying he's the main event he's 100% correct. Like, that's what he should be saying. That's what he should be pushing. And I'm telling you right now, I believe this with all of my fandom has watched Wrestle Kingdom, the last 4 or 5 years that I've watched. Naito and Okada are going to have the best match on the show. It's a foregone conclusion. It's going to happen. It's not going to be Omega and Jericho. The match will be good. The match will be fun. I'm sure you're going to see a nasty side of Jericho that everybody wants to see. That's going to make all these American fans go nuts over it. But in the grand scheme of things, the best match you're going to see is Naito and Okada. I'm sorry. It's just the way it's going to be.
And I'm so looking forward to that match more than I am Jericho Omega.
I want to see both. I mean, I don't think I really have to like. I want to see Cody and Ibushi. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see all those matches. But the bottom line is, when you watch, this is the thing, and I think the American fan base needs to understand this. When you watch Wrestle Kingdom, that main event is like 45 minutes of greatness every year.
Yep.
Like it's not, you know, there's no, when you're done watching Wrestle Kingdom, you're like, God, like and I'll say it again. 2 years ago, AJ Styles and Nakamura, the match was tremendous. Okada and Tanahashi, the match was just better. It stole the show. It's everything about it. The way the announcers sell it, the way it's placed on the show, the way the time it gets, and everything else. They make the main event a big deal, and they're going to do that again. For anything, I'm glad that Jericho being there is bringing more eyes, selling more tickets, maybe selling more New Japan World subscriptions. Whatever Jericho being there is doing is good. But the bottom line, after you watch that show, I don't care what Dave Meltzer says. Whenever you watch the show, I promise you, you're going to come away from that going, holy shit, that fucking main event was awesome. Because every year I've watched Wrestle Kingdom, that's been my take.
Let me see here. Hold on. Give me 1 second. You still with me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wrestle Kingdom, according to this website, which is profightdb.com, and they're like they have like a list of here of Wrestle Kingdom attendance. Yeah, Wrestle Kingdom 10 drew 25,000 fans. Like, they don't really draw that. That's what kills me.
That sounds low to
They
me,
run this huge. No, it's not low, because I mean I heard Meltzer mention this too. They run this big ass dome merely because it's tradition now.
Right.
That's why.
But yeah, I think the assumption just is there's more people.
Yeah,
there.
because the building is capable of holding, according to the.
But I'll tell you, you'll never, the way they shoot it, you'll never know.
No, I mean that is a huge as hell building.
Right. But when they have anybody who's watched New Japan Live, like watched it live on New Japan World,
it looks
they
huge.
take like that. But the other thing too is they take that intermission and they just dump it on a hard cam, and there's like at times like 10 minutes of just nothing. Like there's just nothing going on. They have a hard cam planted on the ring. People are walking around. You could see all these empty seats, but you're just assuming it's because
they're walking around.
People are getting drinks and using a bathroom and everything else. You know what I mean? So it really, watching it is hard to tell how many people are there.
It has the Tokyo Dome has a maximum.
What Wrestle Kingdom was that with 25,000?
I believe. Hold on, I'll get to it in just a second here. According to Wikipedia, the Tokyo Dome has a maximum total capacity of 57,000 people, depending on configuration. It became
how much?
57,000.
Maximum of 57,000.
It says depending on configuration. The American. It became the first Japanese venue with an American football attendance above 50,000. So it's.
Wait, if they had 50,000 for football, I mean, if they configure it right, they could probably easily get another 20,000 wrestling fans in there.
So I'm trying to see here where it is. They mentioned New Japan here. It doesn't give me attendance figures, but according to this one website, Wrestle Kingdom 10 which is 2016, drew 25,204. Wrestle Kingdom 11 drew 26,192. Meltzer's expecting it to do double that. Meltzer's like this thing's going to sell out.
If that's what they were drawing, that makes sense.
Because but here's what kills me is I think even without this damn Jericho, and I love Chris Jericho. Jericho, until I saw CM Punk, Jericho was my favorite wrestler ever, and in many ways he still is. So this is not a knock on Jericho, but my thing is, I think with the growth in 2016 coming over to America, you had people like fucking Roseanne Barr tweeting about this shit during that 4th of July weekend or whatever it was, and Jericho wasn't even a fart in Naito's ass at that point, or Gato's ass at that point. So I have a strong feeling that even without this Jericho Omega match, you still would get close to doubling this figure. Does it help? Yes. Is it unfair to Naito for Jericho to walk around calling this a double main event after watching that video and seeing that fall where, wasn't it crazy how, and I don't know if you remember, if you've been a fan since then, but in that video where he walks out and you could literally hear a fucking pin drop in that building when he walked out? To see that guy go from something like that to this, damn right he should have, sorry. That match, like you said, that match is the draw. Naito, and I think it's pretty safe to say, if we had to get your prediction right now, AC, would it be safe to say that Naito's walking out with that title?
I think it's time, man. If you get here's the other thing, the reaction he got in defeating Omega,
at the G1, right?
What's that?
Yeah, you're talking about the G1 show where
the reaction he got defeating Omega in the G1 climax. I think the time is now for Naito. Okada's still going to be there. Okada's going to win that title again. Tanahashi's still going to be there. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is Naito's time. I think they're going to give you what they give you in that main event, where there's going to be times when you're watching it, you're going to question if Naito could win it. Then they're going to make you feel like he's not going to win it, and then he's going to win it. And that's how their matches go. I think there's a chance Okada retains, but personally, I'd like to see Naito win it. I think it's his time. I think it's time for them to do that. Okada's still going to be a big time star and everything else. So I think they should do that. I did, however, I was just looking at some attendance numbers here. They did, now again, this is on Wikipedia too, so you take everything with a grain of salt. 1993 Tokyo Dome show for New Japan Wrestling, 63,500.
Yeah, that was the WCW deal. Yeah, 95, 67,000,
Yeah, and then you had a 98 show of 55,000. So you're looking at, you're not going to get 80 or 100,000. What we were thinking early is we're probably a little ahead of that.
So they're the one that they
so
did,
you're going to get 40 to 50,000 probably, I would think.
Well, the one that they did for, I'm looking here, Saturday, April 4th of 98, the Inoki final, 70,000 people filled that building.
Okay.
So it's possible. I think they could, if they cut back on the production, allow a little more seats in there. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year.
So this is saying Wrestle Kingdom 9, and this is from Top Row Press. Top Row Press is saying Wrestle Kingdom 9 drew 36,000.
Yeah, that's what I have here in front of me here. So I mean,
okay.
I think this year they're going to reach well above 30,000 people.
So you'll probably get 40 or 50. What you're going to be at.
My prediction is
which is great. I mean, that's a great crowd.
Yeah, I mean, my prediction is 38,000. I'm going to say 38,000. About 12,000 more than last year. I mean, you look 6 years ago. 6 years ago, just in 2006, they put 43,000 people at their January 4th show just 6 years ago. So it's possible. Damn sure possible. And they, my point to all this, though, is Naito needs to take a bow. He needs to take a well-deserved bow for everything that he's been through with being voted off, a legitimate fan vote, people voting his ass off the show or off the main event when he should have had it back then, and just everything he's been through, having to go on excursion to Mexico.
Give him credit. He reinvented himself.
Yeah.
And he came back different and won over the fans and whatever else, which is tremendous. And listen, call it predictable.
If I'm Naito,
predictable if you want, but this to me, this Wrestle Kingdom ends with the celebration of Naito.
Yes, and if I'm Naito though, I'm sitting here going, motherfucker, they're pulling the rug out from underneath me again. This cheapens me. To me, yes, I got the main event, but it's like they expect people to care more about Jericho Omega than me.
Yeah, but I think after you watch the show, I don't think you'll feel that way. That's an assumption right now.
I 100%
but I think
agree
after
with
you watch the show, you're not going to feel that way.
But I mean, if I'm Naito, I'm sitting here looking at them going, they're not going to fucking steal my thunder this year. No way. This is
it may raise his level, man. You know what I mean?
This is my fucking year, and no way Chris Jericho, no way fucking Omega is going to tamper that. So
that should be his take anyway, though, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. From a
whatever the code, I mean, whether it was Omega and Tanahashi or Omega and AJ Styles came back, you know what I mean, and now it's Omega Jericho. Like his feeling should be that I'm gonna this is my show. This is, you know what I mean. I think that should be his take anyway.
And rightfully so. Rightfully so.
Right,
but I just think that a lot of people here in America need to open their eyes up to the fact that Jericho coming back really doesn't mean shit for this card. It really doesn't. To me, it doesn't.
I think it does here. I disagree with you with this point that I think it does. I think it does to their business here. And I think their business here is important to them right now. So that's where I disagree with you. I think that's what Jericho's about. I think that's what Cody's about. You know what I mean? That's where I disagree with you. In the grand scheme of what New Japan has built and what their story is and what they're doing, I agree that this show goes on probably 30, 40,000 people without Jericho. I agree with you. But their business here, I think it helps their business here because I can tell you that there's wrestling fans that I know that are now talking about New Japan and Wrestle Kingdom that never even seen a Wrestle Kingdom before for two reasons. A, because they watched New Japan here in the U.S. this past year, and Jericho. So I think for their business in the U.S., it makes a lot of sense. But in their grand scheme, I agree with your point too, where that's the arrogance of Americans thinking that the American side of it, and listen, I don't tweet me and say, well, Jericho's Canadian. I know he's Canadian, but the point being, the WWE is a U.S. company. Jericho is a United States star. I get he's an international star too, but he's a United States star. Here, and maybe in Canada, it makes perfect sense. But in the grand scheme of New Japan, the main story, the biggest match against the two New Japan guys is Okada and Naito. We know that. That's how the show should play out, and that's how it will play out. My only hope is the attention that Jericho brought to North America helps that out.
And I don't think Jericho cares. That's my problem with all this, is that Jericho could care less if the fans who tune in stay with New Japan and follow New Japan and subscribe or whatever. He's there to have one good match and one big payday. And yes, he's in it for the art aspect of it.
I don't know if it's the money. I think it's just adding to.
Yeah.
No. I think it's adding to his legacy as a wrestler, where at the end of the day he could say, "I wrestled this guy in WCW. I was in ECW.
But long term, for the growth,
now I wrestle Kenny Omega in New Japan, and maybe wrestles Cody Rhodes in ROH, or maybe wrestles. Listen. I don't know how involved ROH is with this with this Jericho deal, but ROH guys are going on his cruise. But listen, New Japan could force the issue. What if he wrestles Dalton Castle? You know what I'm saying? Like, just my point is, I think he's just adding to his own legacy in the wrestling community by doing this. And I think Jericho's smart enough to know that he's done everything he can do in WWE. Like there's no match in WWE for Jericho right now. Like, let's think about it. Like, logically, who is Jericho going to wrestle in WWE now that's going to be like add to his legacy? There's no one. There's nobody.
There's nobody.
Because if he wrestles Brock, he's going to get killed, and nobody cares, and nobody wants to see it, and I don't want to see it. But he goes out there and wrestles Kenny Omega, and maybe wrestles Cody Rhodes. Maybe wrestles Tanahashi, maybe wrestles Okada, maybe wrestles Naito. Who knows? Like, now you got something.
My concern is for the legacy of New Japan, and will this bring any
Yeah, but I think you are viewing this as
New Japan's
a U.S. fan.
Yeah, New Japan's looking at this.
Yeah, but the fans in Japan like that stuff.
But
they like that stuff.
Yeah, but New Japan, if I'm a business person, Geto and Jetto are looking at this thing going, okay, we're only broadcasting this on New Japan World Live. Yes, it's going to be shown on Access a few days later with commercials, which I think is a bad move, but that's beside the point. You're looking at this going...
You think it's a bad move for them to show it on Access?
That soon, yes.
Why?
Because then it doesn't give anybody a reason to subscribe to New Japan World when they go, I'll see it 4 days later.
I agree, but here's where I disagree. I don't think they are updated enough on New Japan World to suck people in anyway, because, and I was talking to a friend of mine tonight about this, it is very difficult for someone from the U.S. right now to maneuver and sign up on New Japan World. It took me a while to do it. It took me a while to get used to it. It is a pain in the ass. So I think they know that. And I think what they're saying is, all right, I think they'll get to that point, but I think they're going to use this as a selling point. Like, yeah, you know what? We'll give you the free content 2 days down the road. But the other thing too, Joe, is Access is not in every home either.
True. Very true.
AXS or Access, however you pronounce it. It's not in every home either. So I think there's still going to be people looking for a way to find it. I think overall, the idea is to just get as many eyeballs on New Japan right now as you can right now. I think down the road, they're going to want you to pay for this content in some way.
So they do have
I think right now that's the way. Well, that's their plan.
New Japan World does have a sign-up page that is now in English. If you go to New Japan, we're njpwworld.com. There's a thing up at the top that says JP, and underneath of it says EN. You click on it, it converts the website to English. So they have made advancements.
No. But see, the thing is, they have that. I agree, they have that. But I didn't have this problem. But friends of mine have had the problem where they went to use their card internationally, or a bank card internationally, and the actual bank blocked them from making the transaction.
So here's the thing, though.
And the other thing too is I've came across this too, where my initial credit card that I signed up with New Japan World with expired, so I had to now obviously put the new credit card information in, and I could get everywhere clicking that English button in English. But when it went to the actual screen where I had to put the credit card information in,
it's Japanese.
It was all Japanese, and I'm like, I didn't know what to put in.
Because basically it takes you to Japanese PayPal is pretty much where it takes you to.
Right. It took me like legit like 3 shots to get the information in properly, because I didn't know what they were asking me. So finally I basically guessed right and got it done. Now I don't have the issue, but I think I think it'll get better, and it's honestly it's easier to navigate than it was 2 years ago when I signed up. But the thing is, I don't know if they're ready with New Japan World. I don't think they are like, oh, we're gonna get all these new subscribers. I think that's where they're going. Yeah. I just don't think. But like you said, if Jericho's not popping their attendance, is he gonna pop their subscriptions? Probably not. So let's put the content in Access, and if you have ability to watch that, now you can see our content, and maybe you want to go to our show, or maybe next year, let's re-explore putting Wrestle Kingdom on pay-per-view, because so many people watched it on Access or something.
Do you think this is just a one-shot deal for him?
For Jericho, one shot? I want to say no, but I'm skeptical.
Me too. And if he does sign, when they come back here to the U.S., they're going to need, when they come back to...
Well, he's got a main event to show if they do that.
Well, when they come, I don't think he has to main event it. I'm firmly behind the fact that Jericho should never main event any fucking thing for New Japan. Sorry, he shouldn't. He shouldn't. And then they should have their Japanese stars, man. They're New Japan Pro Wrestling, for crying out loud.
But let's face it, Kenny Omega in the U.S., Kenny Omega is their most recognizable star, and maybe the Young Bucks after him. I think they're kind of equal. In the U.S. is not out of the. I mean, that's not crazy.
So let's get into some XFL here. I want your opinions on this. Vince McMahon goes and files some trade, according to Deadspin and David Bixenspan, who is the co-host of the 605 Super Podcast. They received a statement from WWE that says Vince McMahon has formed a new company, Alpha Entertainment. He's doing this out of his own money. This has nothing to do with WWE except for the fact that it's being done by Vince. This is all out of Vince's pocket. WWE revived the trademark for XFL last year. On September 26th, Alpha Entertainment, which is Vince's new venture, applied for the trademark of URFL. Also in September, VKM Ventures, that's funny, applied for United Football League, UFL, and For the Love of Football. What is your take on this, being a hardcore football fan? I don't think... Here's what me and the technical director of CWF, Grant Sawyer, even tweeted this out. As soon as I read this news, I looked at my girlfriend because her brother's hardcore football. We get together for the Super Bowl every year. I just go for the food and the commercials. But I looked at my girlfriend and I said, what you want to bet me he tries to do like he did in 2001? But instead of buying the Canadian Football League, he buys the Arena Football League, because if it's in arenas, Vince McMahon has his arena game down. He would know how to market that shit, I think, better than traditional football. What are your thoughts on this when this first popped up last week?
I think it's ridiculous. I don't think it's going to work. I think it's going to be a major fail. Listen, take all the great promoter thing out of it. Take all this other crap. And it's not even because he failed at it before. But this is coming from a football fan. I watch college football. I watch NFL football. If I had time, I'd watch high school football. But here's the bottom line, and this is the bottom line. When you watch something that's called pro sports, when you watch something that's called professional, you want the professionals. You want the best players. And I'm watching the NFL this year, watching guys, so many injuries, guys coming off the streets that shouldn't even be playing in the NFL, that are ruining the NFL because the quality of play sucks.
Their ratings
you mean to
are
tell
down
me that they're going to come up with another league in quality of play? What are you going to get, Terrell Owens at 50 years old to play football? Give me a break. There's no way this is going to work. I don't care. Listen, you all out there could get your blinders on and think Vince McMahon is the smartest guy ever because he's done great things, and he has done great things in this world. I'm not saying he hasn't, but the bottom line is this is not going to work. This is like the NBA D-League trying to be something. It's not. It's actually called the G League now because to fund it, they had Gatorade purchase it. So they call it the G League.
The G League.
Okay? This is like AAA baseball. Yeah, it's nice because you can go to a AAA baseball game and they have these family packages where you get the tickets really cheap. The beer's still through the roof. But guess what? You can get a family package. Sometimes they have hot dogs included. You can take your kids. You got a nice family atmosphere. That's great. That's not going to work in pro football. And when are you going to play these games, and where are you going to play them? Because I'll tell you this right now. If you do it during the college football season and the NFL season, you're never going to get anybody to watch it. So what are you going to do? Play it in the spring and summer? Nobody cares about football then. This has been tried before. It's not just the XFL. There's been other leagues that have tried to do this before.
There was a league that was trying to start up
not
couple
that
years
long
ago. Yeah.
And they had a team in Hartford. They had a team in Hartford that played where the UConn football team plays at. Okay? It holds 40,000 people. They were lucky to get 10,000 a game. Maybe sometimes they got 2,000. Okay? This is not going to work. If Vince McMahon wants to waste his money trying to do this, that's fine. And if a bunch of wrestling fans out there want to think this is going to work, and a bunch of delusional people out there, like my buddy D. Smitty, I love you to death, but you're delusional, who thinks the NFL is not going to be around in 5 years, you're crazy. Listen, put this into perspective, people. The NFL is not having a good year, okay? So guess what? They went from $10 billion to $9.5 billion, okay? This is what you're talking about, okay? This is like people saying, I'll give you the perfect wrestling example, what we talked about earlier, that the WWE is not going to be on USA anymore. Again, Not going to happen because they still smash everybody in the ratings in that field and cable TV on USA. They smash everybody still. They were so high above everybody that they just came back to earth. And I don't think the product's good. I'm not making excuses for them, but that's the fact of the matter. The NFL is starting to come back to earth. The NFL's been in the clouds in pro sports. They've been destroying everybody for years. They got piggish greed. They did a lot. They made a lot of mistakes along the way. You could talk about the kneeling, the quality of play, the rules, the reviews. There's so many things that go into it. But the bottom line is you're talking about a $10 to $11 billion industry only making $9 billion. It's not like they're losing money, okay? They're still making a fucking lot of money. They're just making a little bit less. Put it into perspective. And you're not going to chink that armor because the bottom line is you can't pay the top players what the NFL can pay because Vince McMahon doesn't have $10 billion. So where is he getting players from? And when the quality of play sucks, there's no pro football fan that's going to watch it. I'm sorry, it's just not going to work. He can waste all his time all he wants. It's going to be another major fail.
I think, too, is that he may not go into this to play devil's advocate. I agree with everything that you're saying. The NFL's ratings are down this year. The main problem I've had with football, I'm not a huge football fan, but it's there. You can't ignore it in America. You have to sit there and have some semblance of what's going on. And I put on Twitter every week that it was week 2 or 3 of the NFL. They had a 2-hour pregame show on Fox. For an hour and a half of that, they were discussing Donald Trump's fucking tweet about the NFL. For an hour and a half. And I'm sitting there going, you wonder why your ratings are down? You wonder why people care less about this game? Because I tune in to watch people smashing into each other over a fucking piece of pigskin. Not to fucking goddamn hear about Donald Trump or who's kneeling or who has
agree.
I'm sorry. I'm all for demolishing domestic violence. I think anybody who lays an unwelcome hand on a man or woman is fucking stupid. But god damn it, I could care less who bitch slapped whose wife. Get out there and play football. That's what you get paid for. I don't care.
But Joe, guess what? You're honestly, you're making my point with this whole thing. People don't want politics in sports.
But that's why ratings are down, gimmicks. I think. That's why ratings are down. Because the damn networks are forcing that shit into your football, and I think that's why ratings have been down in the last 2 years.
I agree, but that's not going to help someone else create something new in football.
No, listen, not when that's the idea.
The idea with the XFL was, Vince McMahon, there's going to be all this crazy shit. It's going to be like pro wrestling, and you're going to get women, and you're going to get everything else. And everybody watched it for 2 weeks, and then once they realized at the end of the day, it's still a football game, and it's not a very good one, they turned it off. And that's what's going to happen again. Honestly, less people will watch this time. The other delusional wrestling fans are going to go watch. That's it. Nobody else cares. Nobody's going to see it. But who are you going to put on that football field that's going to make people want to watch it?
What are you going to put? Hate me? You're going to put He Hate Me back out there again?
Right. He's probably the only one that did anything in the NFL after that.
Well, he's the only player in the documentary that was really featured, and I don't even think
he's the only one anybody remembers. Because he just happened to come up with the most catchy uniform name.
And here's the thing. Here's what kills me about Vince.
But the substance of this is this. When you're a sports fan, again, and I'm going to drive this point home. When you're a sports fan and you watch pro sports, you want to see professionals. You want to see professionals at the highest level. Take football out of it. Look at boxing. Look at the UFC. Look at Bellator. When you watch these fights and there's no name recognition and you don't feel like it's exciting, do you care? No. It's going to be the same thing. And just because Vincent Kenny McMahon puts his fucking name on it doesn't mean it's going to be interesting. He failed once already. He fell flat on his face. And not only that, he fell flat on his face when he had network executives backing him in the deal. Nobody's going to back him in this deal. They're going to show it on fucking WWE Network. Nobody's buying this shit.
We now know that the only reason why Ebersol even got into it to begin with was because NBC lost the NFL. NBC has not lost the NFL. All the major networks, ABC probably does not have the NFL, but they own ESPN, so they got it now.
ESPN, so indirectly they do.
So indirectly, yes, all the major four networks have football now. Where are you going to put it?
Nowhere. Nobody's buying
Spike?
it. And listen, that was Ebersol believing in McMahon. That's what it was. And guess what? Listen, Dick Ebersol has done tremendous things in the sports TV realm. Trust me, it's tremendous things. Every time an enemy made a mistake, he made a mistake. That's fine. McMahon made a mistake. What are you trying to do now? Like,
I mean,
I hope this is just bullshit rumors because this is not going to work.
He knows, do you think if he does the Arena Football League, Arena Football is already on TV occasionally. So is the CFL. I looked a few weeks ago and found Canadian football on my TV.
But does anybody watch it though? You know, like I know it's there too, but Joe, I love football, but I've never watched a Canadian football game.
Here's what
I've been to Arena Football live, and I got to tell you, back in the day, Arena Football was exciting. It's high scoring. It was almost like I don't want to call it like indoor soccer or lacrosse, but it was like kind of like that. It was very different.
It was like
but the thing is, it's still like a niche following.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a national following out of that.
It's like
honestly,
Monster Jam.
I'll tell you this, Joe. This is the honest to God truth. If what you're saying is true, it actually makes more sense because this is my other. If they're going to play the football indoors like that, and you got to fill like a hockey stadium with 16,000.
Vince knows how to do that.
12,000, right? Well, my point is, if that's what he's going for, I'm still not going to say it's going to work, but maybe because you could do that year round.
What you want to bet me? The wrestling fans are going to bitch. How come the Arena Football League gets pyro when the players come out, but the wrestlers don't? And here's another thing.
But the other thing too, Joe, is with that one. Here, you can mask the fact that the players aren't as good because you don't need. It's like a 7-on-7. It's not 11-on-11. You know the dynamics. It's about scoring. It's not about defense. It's not about blocking linemen. It's you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Like it's supposed to be fast paced. It's supposed to be high scoring. You know, maybe you can add an element to it. If he does that, he might have like something cool to watch here and there. I don't think it'll get huge, but he might have something cool to watch. If what you're saying is what it is, okay, go for it. But if you're going to play professional football in outdoor stadiums, where the fuck are you going to play this? Because no one's going to be there. What you're talking about is something very different. So I'll take the wait and see approach on that one. But I'm telling you right now, if he thinks he's going to redo what he failed with the XFL and actually make it work, it's not going to happen.
Here's where we mentioned the fact. I mentioned the fact that I hate that they're sensationalizing the kneeling and the domestic violence or whatever like that. What's going to happen to people when? Because we know Vince McMahon is not going to run this as a straight-up football league. What's going to happen when Vince McMahon takes that shit and turns it into storylines for their players? You know it's going to happen. Here comes out onto the field. He hate me. He hate me is gay.
This receiver lines up next to the DB that fucked his wife.
He hate me. Just came out as a homosexual. We're all about gay pride here in the XFL. But here on the other side of the field is Boo Ray, and Boo Ray got into a fight with He Hate Me last night and hit him.
If Vince wants to have a little fun and try to
police
create
were called
content,
for the domestic violence.
Listen, if he wants to have the New York Statues of Liberty versus the LA forest fires,
shit.
at 12:30 at night, on Fox Sports 2. He might have something, but that's all it's going to be. Give me a break.
Can you see it now? He hate me and Boo Ray. They are on opposing teams. They got into it last night. The police were called, but I stepped in and said, "Goddamn, pal, let them settle it on the field." The case went away, and here we are, you know. And by the way, we're going to take you
do agree
into
there's no way he's going to have like a real professional.
He's never going to do that. But here's the thing, though: how can he handle? He's going to storyline this shit. And here's what kills me: he's going to storyline this shit up, and he's going to have smash mouth, uncut XFL football where everybody's mic'd up and jacked up. But on the other end of the coin, he's trying to run a clean-cut family pro wrestling show.
And then the other thing, too, is what are you going to do a wellness on that one?
Yeah, it's Dr.
Guess what? They're part-time employees. They only play once a week. They don't have wellness.
It's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and the fans aren't going to buy it.
Wait, this could be beneficial. Just look at it this way. What if Vince says, Hunter, Steph, Shane,
I'm going to play football.
I'm going to professional football. You guys run WWE. You know what I mean? Like you guys do the booking,
dude. It'll never happen.
I don't have time for WWE right now. You guys take care of it. Then we're gonna really see if it was all Vince.
Friend of the show, Johnny P, put this out on Twitter.
Joe, that's never happening.
None
of that shit's ever happening.
A friend of the show, Johnny P, put this out on Twitter. He says, "For the life of me, I'll never understand people like Vince McMahon. Maybe be able to relate or identify with is a better way just to put it. Just give your money to actual cancer research, not your October corporate partner. You don't even like football, dude." And I put, well, McMahon's favorite football player was Wahoo McDaniel. And he goes, I doubt he's ever even aware of who that is. And I'm like, oh, wait, he's like Ernie Ladd, too. I was like, but you're right. He probably doesn't even know what NFL stands for. Vince McMahon's favorite football players. Meltzer said this time and time again. Vince was asked who his favorite football players once. He said Wahoo McDaniel and Ernie Ladd were his favorite. He doesn't know football. He doesn't know football. You know, I don't get this. I don't get it at all. You know, the trademarks. Obviously, why would you go out and file these trademarks, which it takes money to do, if he wasn't at least considering it? And that's what kills me. He's considering it. And we're already sitting there going, dude, just don't even try, you know?
You're right.
And
I get all these people like, Vince is going to do this, and Vince is going to do that. Like, it's just, come on, you're in the clouds. You're in the fucking
here's
clouds.
The thing, though. When WWE comes out and goes, Vince McMahon has established Alpha Entertainment. Alpha Entertainment. I find it funny how he establishes Alpha Entertainment, and all of a sudden Jericho's over in New Japan calling himself the Alpha of pro wrestling. We're going to leave it there for tonight, man. We've been on the air for over 2 hours now. So
all right.
So
Well, it was fun, man. It was good to link up with you.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Maybe we'll do it again for the Rumble, because the Rumble,
no doubt.
they're talking about doing a women's Royal Rumble, which I'm like, ugh, okay.
Let's do a pre and post for the Rumble.
We'll try. I'll try to do that. It depends on my job situation.
Yeah, it depends on everything. Yeah, let me know.
But all right, folks, we're gonna. I haven't
been working Sundays lately, so
really,
it's been easier. So Monday nights, like I work Monday nights, so when I do Raw and SmackDown, I work Monday and Tuesday night, so I kind of just pick it up in pieces during the week. So,
yeah.
But yeah, man, if I don't talk to you, happy holidays and all that good stuff to you and the fam and all that.
You too, man.
All right.
Here's what kills me about the Raw and everything. I haven't been watching it live because I fall asleep during it, and I find myself waking up at like 11:05, right as the Law and Order or whatever else comes on, and I just go back.
Don't you hate that?
Well, I go back through on the DVR and be like, okay, I can skip this, and I can skip this. Just show me the angles.
Yeah, it's like a reminder of why you fell asleep.
Yeah. And then I look at the clock after it's done, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh, right, I got this much longer to sleep." Glonk. All right, folks, we're going to get off here for the night. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're watching on that archive, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Follow us on Twitter. He's at AC Cooldown. I'm at Joe Pillow to Post, and you guys have a good evening.